Hi, welcome back to the Cuzzy Sound channel and episode 6 in the series all about my Project 9 DIY modular analog synthesizer. In this episode I'm going to be looking at the last two modules that form part of what's basically the oscillator panel. The first one is a special kind of oscillator. It's a white noise generator. It's based on a very simple circuit, just two transistors, and there's no controls. There is just an output that generates white noise. The problem with this one is that it also picks up interference from absolutely everything else. The other modules in the synth interfere directly with it and swamp out the white noise signal. And I've even had local radio, or it might have been the local taxis on there, but it just picks up loads and loads of interference. I'll turn it up and you can hear what it sounds like, and you'll understand that it really is not usable as a noise source. More of a buzz than it is what you'd expect from white noise. The buzz is actually coming from mostly the 555 oscillator in the panel. In fact, if I trigger the 555 oscillator, and bear in mind that you're not listening to the output from the 555, that's turned off, you're listening to the output from the white noise panel. And yet you can still hear the sequence that I'm playing through the 555. So, yeah. We'll count that one as a fail. And I don't use it for noise. I have used it, I think, once in a mix to generate a kind of a bit of a gritty background to what the oscillator was doing anyway, since it's the oscillator that dominates. The other module on this panel, which we'll look at in a little bit more detail, isn't actually an oscillator. It's my old friend, the vactrol VCA. It's exactly the same design as I used in my little boxes. So it's I called it VCV. Technically it's not an amplifier, it doesn't amplify anything. It's actually more like a voltage controlled volume control. You can twiddle a volume knob with control voltage, which is very, very useful. So we'll have a look at how it sits in Project 9 and how I use it within that particular modular system. So we'll move in a little closer so you can see what's going on. Here we are a little closer so we can see what's going on. Just for reference, that's the noise output. You can see there's none of these controls affect this. It's just supposedly just chucks out the noise, but it chucks out noise along with everything else as you just heard. This is the vactrol VCA. So as before, I'm using a 555 VCO. The output from the VCO goes onto the inside of the VCA, and the outside of the VCA I'm passing it through, it's going through a passive filter just to take some of the edge off it actually, and then out via a mixer into the audio. I'm going to trigger the 555 from the beat step controller, and the gate from the beat step controller is triggering the vactrol. So basically these are connected between the input and the output is a light dependent resistor, and the gate input is connected to the diode, so that alters the brightness of the diode and that alters the volume level of the output. So if I trigger it, you can see the LED flashing away there. What that's indicating each step in the sequence. If I knock some of the steps out, you can see, we can see what's going on with the little diode there. You could actually trigger the vactrol with any signal, and on previous videos, when I did the video about the 555 oscillator, I was triggering the vactrol with the envelope generator, which gives me kind of a lot better control over the shape of the sound. This wasn't actually the first VCA that I put in this panel. I actually used a design from the Modular in a Week series that Christian does, and one of the modules that he put together, which he got from somewhere else, I'll put a link in the description, was what's called an I-AM-O. That is what the module is, and that originally sat in there. So again, you've got an input and output, and it's labelled AM here, but that basically is where the control voltage goes in. What's inside this little box, apart from 3 sockets, is simply a JFET transistor, and so your input goes across the in and out of the JFET, and then the JFET is switched with your control voltage. What I'll do, I'll plug this in place of the vactrol, and I've not touched anything else, so we'll trigger it again. Now then, there you hear the first problem is that I'm not getting very much output at all. I can, now, doesn't affect it. So the problem, one of the problems I had was that when you're running a 9 volt system, a lot of the voltages can end up being quite low, and so it's not really high enough to trigger the JFET vactrol. It's not a vactrol, JFET VCA. There we go. Back onto the vactrol VCA. There's actually a second vactrol VCA here. They are so useful. They cost very little to put together. It's, well, there's 4 components there, and then there's 2 more behind it, so it's 6 components in total. I've actually got a version on my Project 12 modular synth, which adds a CV level control. Turn that down a little bit. So I can actually, it's just a voltage divider on the input to the CV control, so you can kind of handle a wider range of control voltages and still maintain kind of a nice balance. But other than that, it's pretty much the same thing. Really, really useful. If you're going to build a DIY modular system, then you need, personally I think, you need vactrol VCAs in it, and you can never have too many, and they're very cheap, very easy to build. So yeah, go on, have a go, build your own.